Good morning, everyone. Yet again, we come to another tax court case of somebody not properly documenting their expenses. So this one is actually TC, so Tax Court Memo 2022-83. The very long story short, consultants conducting his business didn't track his car expenses, didn't track his home expenses, didn't report his mileage. Well, he reported, but he didn't track them. So when the auditor came in and said, okay, great, you have this many miles, show me the logs. There were no digital logs, on his phone. There were no written logs in a book, basically no documentation whatsoever. And when that happened, the auditor then started digging into everything else. Well, if you don't have records for your miles, which should be the easiest thing to track, now there's some great apps like MileIQ that just track it all in the background for you. It's awesome. And all you have to do is swipe left or swipe right to classify them. Super simple. We highly recommend it here at Tax Goddess. But the auditor looked at that and said, well, if you don't have your mileage, what else don't you have? Started digging into office supplies expense, meals expenses, where are the receipts, where are your notes, who were you meeting with? Really created a massive headache for this client, not our client, but for this tax court client, okay? For this tax court taxpayer. And very long story short, taxpayer lost, right? If you do not have substantiated documentation for the deduction that you are trying to take, the IRS does have the right to take that deduction away. So what do we recommend to prevent against this? Okay, absolutely be tracking your mileage. If you're taking big mileage deductions, so typically that's going to be your real estate agents, maybe mobile notaries, Uber drivers, right? I think Uber and Lyft track your mileage for you in the app, but long story short, guys, you must be tracking your miles. Other things that I would highly recommend when you buy anything is the instant you get that physical receipt, right on the top of the receipt, what is it for? Is it a meal? Did you have it with a prospect? Was it with a client, with a staff? What's going on? Take a photo of the receipt. So especially in some states, like I live in Arizona, in the summertime, if your receipts are in your garage, they will all turn either black or fade to white, which means you will not have receipts anymore. And unfortunately, if your receipt has faded to white, the IRS does not look at that as proof because you can't prove that that receipt was for that purchase. Oh, no. So highly recommend that you write on top of it and get in the habit. A lot of this is habit stuff, guys, right? Get in the habit of snapping a picture of it before you throw the receipt away. Then you have a digital time-stamped picture of the receipt with your handwritten notes on it. Very, very, very powerful for any kind of an audit. So if you have any questions on what kinds of things, what kind of documents you should be keeping, you should be keeping all records of at least 7 years. You could go down to 3, but we don't recommend it. We do recommend 7 years. And you should absolutely hold on to any records related to real estate. So buying a house, selling a house, flipping a house, anything related to real estate, land, any kind of title, those documents should effectively be kept forever. So if you have any questions on anything you've signed and whether you should keep it as a receipt, reach out to our team. I know that this sounds like, well, Shauna, this is just backup documentation for my bookkeeper and my administrative assistant's going to handle this. But really, guys, if you don't have this documentation, it's not done properly, you will miss out on some major tax deductions. I know you guys have heard me before talking about accountable plans. And my favorite case of an accountable plan, we had a client that came to us $190,000 worth of deductions every single year that she'd been missing for about the past 5 years that were never reported by her CPA. So you want to make sure that you are working with a tax strategist. So reach out to the team and I. We would be happy to chat with you about what it means to have the documents, what kind of documents, what do you need to be keeping, and for your industry, what is a deduction? So if you have questions, reach out. We'd be happy to chat and see what kind of money we can save for you. So you have a wonderful day and we'll talk to you later. Bye.